But no, I've never been able to figure out, because this one's much smaller than the normal ones. And my ex-wife got this one for my son, because he has autism, just so he needs like fidget toys. Oh. And I was like, And I was like, you know what? I've never been able to figure out the big one. I could probably figure this one out. It's been a month and a half. No luck. Month and a half, no luck. So, and I had it when I was leaving the house. I was like, I'll put it on the table. It'll be a nice little table decoration, I guess. One of these days I'll figure out a Rubik's Cube. Anyway, let's get into it. Ain't Got It Yet podcast, episode 50, man. I made it to 50 episodes. I'm really proud of that. Episode 50, Ain't Got It Yet podcast, Joe Dreamz. We finally made it happen, brother.
Yes.
I appreciate you joining me on the show, man.
Of course.
Absolutely. Everything good with you?
Oh, now that you're here.
I hear that. Yes. Good day? Everything smooth with you?
Oh, very productive day. So this morning I did some dance classes, some choreo classes, and then after that I got to work on some content, and then I got this suit. I call it Morelli. It was made by this artist. Her name is Scarlett Bailey, and she made the suit for me. And then I got to see this lecture on the Native American culture. So it's been an interesting day, and now getting to sit here with you.
Absolutely. A few things I got to ask about today. First thing, the artist that made your suit, is she local?
Yes, she is.
Nice. She got a website or Instagram you want to shout out?
Scarlett Bailey. Look, she got her logo right here.
Sure, if you just Google it, you find her on Instagram, and probably her website if she got one.
Oh yeah, she makes murals all over the city. She's one of the most creative people I know.
I like that. Scarlett Bailey. I'm gonna be hitting you up. I'm gonna need some soon. I got some formal events I need to go to. I'm gonna need some suits. So I'm gonna be definitely tapping in with you, Scarlett Bailey. I'm gonna need that. I'm gonna need that for sure. And then you said choreo classes. Were you teaching, or were you just a part of the class?
And then another artist I work with, her name is Bianca Tiger, and we have songs together, and then she has a background dance. She was on World of Dance, and so she teaches at a choreography studio, and since she teaches there, she gets access to it when there's not classes. And so we've been doing weekly choreography sessions, and I've been working on my live performances, and we've been coming up with all kind of choreo, and it's been a really great time.
I hear you. That's what's up. That's dope, man. Pretty eventful day. Appreciate you taking time out of the day to join me on the podcast.
Oh yeah, and then
today,
the Padres game. Forgot about that.
You went to the Padres game today too?
Then I performed outside of the Padres game today.
Nice. You've been all over the place. Matter of fact, speaking of you being all over the place in your performances and things, that's actually how I found out about you and got tapped into you. A friend of mine, I want to say about a year ago maybe, a friend of mine was like, have you ever heard of this dude? And I was like, no, because I'm always doing the best I can to just like promote, the local artists and things. My friend was like, you ever heard of this dude? I see you went to a couple Padres games. You ever bumped into this dude? I'm like, nah, I never seen him before. He's like, Fred, you should connect with him, bro. And then I was like, I used to do that. As soon as people show me like a new account or a new person, I'm like quick to try to tap in. But I was like, I gotta take my time, because I've done that a few times and it wasn't the best thing for me. Tapping in and collaborating with people that. Anyway, I had to take my time. I was like, you know what? I like this dude. And I'm going to invite him on. I'm going to have him on the podcast. So I appreciate you joining me, bro.
I see. So did you see me anywhere in public, or it was your friend that told me and then you checked me out my profile?
Your profile? I've been downtown a lot. Like I said, I've been to a few Padres games. I've never seen you in person until today.
See. Wow. So what was it about what you saw on my profile that resonated with you the most?
The positivity. The unapologetic honesty in self and just giving of self, and then the positivity. But I'm very much drawn to both of those things. Very much so.
I see.
I used to make music myself, and I'm still very much drawn to music, but that wasn't really I like your music. I do enjoy your music. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. But the thing to answer the question, it was the authenticity and the just, you're always so positive and so full of life.
I see. And how did you come to value positivity?
Look at you coming here interviewing me. I like it. How did I come to value positivity? I've just always been this way, man. I've just always been this way. I don't remember. I've always tried to find the silver lining in things. I've always tried to find the positive in things. I think it kind of started off as a kid. Your parents may make you do things that you don't want to do, or you may have to go places that you don't want to go. And rather than dwelling on the fact that you don't want to be there, that you can't change the circumstance, I always found a way to enjoy my time in that space that I didn't want to be at. So for me, that was how I ended. I played the drums all growing up, and so that was how I found the drums. I didn't want to sit next to my mom and be bored all day in church. So I was like, if I go up there and learn how to play the drums, I can have some fun, and I don't have to sit next to my mom all day.
That's right.
So I've always valued positivity and just trying to find the silver lining in things, for sure.
Hey, to positivity.
Absolutely, my guy. My guys. Oh, you know what? With that, I don't know how long ago it was. You just recently posted it. But yeah, like some real, like, I don't want to say violent, but dude seemed like he wanted to get like violent negativity and do the, I guess, the tap dance dude, like kicked over your box and all that. And actually with that, you've had a few incidences where people are like really mean or really hateful towards you, and you never, like, I don't know, maybe it's off camera, but like you're always the same Joe Dreamz. You're always positive. The smile almost never leaves, and you're always still trying to like give a positive message. Is that ever a challenge for you?
So it used to be, but the reason why I'm able to do that is because of what does it mean? Like, what's going on here? And how I interpret what happened was this person needs love, and that's why they're acting like that. Mm-hmm. And so knowing that, that's how I was able to respond to it versus react to it. And so, because most people, when they interpret that, they'll come up with like a name for that person, like maybe he's like an asshole, or he's this, or he's that. And then if you interpret it that way, how are you going to respond then? Mm-hmm. Right? It's probably going to be more of like an argument or whatever. But if it's like, oh yeah, this person is acting because like they need like love and stuff, then you address the situation differently. And so it actually makes perfect sense with that pair of sunglasses on. Got you.
I like that. I like the way you said that. Are you from San Diego? Born and raised?
Yes, sir. Slam Diego.
Nice. Have you ever lived anywhere outside of San Diego?
I've lived in Santa Barbara for a little bit when I was dating a girl who went to UCSB. I lived out there for like probably maybe like a few months. And other than that, San Diego's been my home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you mind me asking how old you are?
I am 10 times 3 minus 2.
Got you. 28. So in your 28 years of being here, you know, of course, San Diego is a big melting pot. It's a military town. A lot of different people come through San Diego. A lot of people stay here and call it home, but also a lot of people pass through here just in their life and in their travels. With you, you know, performing, how long have you been performing outside, like doing your thing?
3.5 years.
3.5
going on 4 years.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably got tapped in with you like halfway through to where you are right now. Mm-hmm. In your time of like, because I've seen you in various different places. What's been like what give me like a part of town that you performed in and like a crazy story that's happened, or like just maybe like one of your most favorite stories that have happened in a certain part of town.
Well, at the Rock Church, San Diego. So there's the largest church in San Diego. They're in Point Loma at this place called Liberty Station, and I've been going there for a long time, and I've realized that after service, like everybody comes out to the parking lot and they all go through this path, and then the thought occurred to me of like, what if I started performing here and all these people, right, and like all these people who go here, like God knows who might be here or who might be in the crowd, who might see me, what kind of opportunity can come out of that. And so I popped up and I started performing. At first it was like a wasp going into a beehive, right, but then after a while it started being like, okay, that's the guy who performs outside of the church. And so one time after I finished performing, I did a freestyle for this girl about her dream, because I do these Dreamz freestyles. And then this guy comes up to me, he's like, hey, I really love what you did right there. I have this company, we do school assemblies, and it's called Go Green BMX, and basically invited me to do some performances at school. So I got to do probably about a half a dozen school assemblies where I got to perform my music and interact with the students and spread a positive message, and all that came from popping up, and I got paid for it too, and all that. And so that was a blessing from doing one of those performances.
That's dope, man. I love to hear that. When did you start creating music? We've all grow up listening to music, whether we gravitate towards it or not. When did you fall in love with music, and when did you start creating it?
Well, my earliest memories of creating music were when I was a little kid. I used to love riding my bike around the neighborhood and stuff, and like just random melodies would come to my head. I'd be humming them as I ride my bike around. And then in high school is when I actually made my first actual song. And then,
Do you remember what it was called?
it's called My Team. It's actually still on SoundCloud.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah,
nice,
It's
nice,
actually,
nice.
And I used to go by Lil J.
Okay.
That was my name back then.
Why the change from Lil J? Why the change, and when did you change from Lil J to Joe Dreamz?
So the first thing, my first name was Marvel because I used to love Marvel movies and whatnot. And then I changed it to J Fresh or something, and then Lil J, and then it's so silly looking back on these things now. And then it was Joseph Harrison. It went by my normal name, and then after that, then I changed it to Joe Dreamz. And so, and how that name came about. So I grew up in church, like I was talking about. And there's a story of Joseph and Mary. They're like the parents of Jesus. And Joseph, when he found out that Mary was pregnant, he was like, yo, like somebody, impregnated her. And then he had a dream that was like, hey, no, it was the Holy Spirit. You don't have to stone her to death or whatever, divorce her. You could be with her, and yeah. So he had a dream basically, and then there's another Joseph in the Bible who also had a divine dream basically, and so I put those two together because my birth name was Joseph, and so I identified with those characters naturally. And then they both had dreams, so then Joe Dreamz. That's kind of how that came, and then it kind of took on a life of its own because then it became more than just about that story. It became about a cause of like living Joe Dreamz, right? And so that ended up being what it is today.
What is the dream for you?
So imagine living in a world where everyone is living their dreams. Like an apartment complex like this, if you were to knock on every single one of those doors and knock on the door and somebody answered, be like, hey, are you, like, what do you do? And they'd be like, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe it. Right? Like imagine every single person you met like that. That's the dream. And so my goal for my music is to inspire you to go and live your dreams.
I love that. So with the I don't want to call it, the whole like Joseph Epiphany thing, but with that realization, you think like you've landed on like the name you're supposed to have. Do you think there'll be any more changes?
I have like Jose Sueños for my Spanish, and who knows, maybe I'll date a girl in the future and she'll give me a nickname or something like that.
Maybe.
Who knows what the possibilities could be, but right now it's Joe Dreamz.
I hear that. You think a future girlfriend could give you a nickname that'll cause you to change your stage name? You think so?
Who knows? Maybe she'll be creative like that.
I feel it. Where do you get your style from, man? You're always suited and booted. You're always rocking out. Where's your style come from?
Trial and error. Mm-hmm. If you look back on my highlights on my Instagram profile, you see the beginning of my profile. So that's interesting. Did you put that dream there on the wall just for that?
I did not.
Okay. All right. I'm like, oh, that's nice. Okay, so I almost lost. What was the question again? I lost my train of thought a little bit. Because literally, there's a sign on the wall that says "Dream" right there. I was like, "Oh wow!" And I'm facing it. like, what a coincidence!
I said, "Where do you get your style from?"
Oh, the style. And I said trial and error because. Oh yes, because at the beginning of my performances, the idea that I had for, how should Joe Dreamz dress? And back then, the thought was sleepwear. Like, I can combine sleepwear and streetwear, and it could be like this whole pajamas look and everything like that. But when I look back on it, it really wasn't the right move because it didn't give the right effect, right? And so then after that, I went back to normal, wearing like normal clothes. But then I'm like, look, if you really want to, but I didn't feel like I was really being me. I felt like I was just wearing what I bought at the store, and it really wasn't expressing my true self. And then I have a hype man. His name is Hype Man James, and this dude, he loves video games, he loves movies, he loves things like Jeopardy and sports and all that stuff. And he's like, "Hey Joe, you know who you remind me of?" Matter of fact, he actually also has autism. He's like, "Hey Joe, you know who you remind me of?" And I said, "What?" He said, "Frozone from Disney." and then because my personality and stuff, and then he's like, "Honey, where is my super suit?
Yeah.
Where is my super suit?" And he like had me go on camera. He's like, he wanted me to say it because he thought I'm like, okay. And then I said, "Where's my super suit?" And I did it for him. And then kind of after that, I was like, the idea of the super suit kind of stuck with me after that, and then I was like, you know what? Like, I need to make a change. And because I started like noticing, like, just as you stay in the game for a while, the longer you stay in, the more you learn. And I'm learning that, you know what? Like, this could be having more of an impact. And if I could just make this one change and really figure this image out, then that's really going to open up a lot of doors. And so I came across the idea of the super suit, so I went to the thrift shop and then began that trial and error process again. And then now I hire other artists to do them, and it's really cool too because I'll give them a vision and then they'll take the vision and do something that I didn't even imagine with it. So that's where it came from. And honestly, I feel like I'm fully expressing what I'm all about through my fashion now, and it is a great feeling because I finally feel like I found myself, whatever, within clothing.
Hey, that's dope. I'm so sorry, bro. I hate to do this. I gotta have you spit the gum out from audio.
Oh yes, of course. That's what I was trying to do, but a trash can, I was like, I don't want to just put it in the trash can.
I appreciate it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, and get stuck to the metal. That's why I opened up that box because I'm like, oh, it looks like tissues. I could put it in the tissue, and then it wasn't the tissue.
Thought you needed to clean something up.
Exactly.
Now with I mean, obviously the way you go about things is a little bit different than a lot of people and artists in particular. It's a little weird.
It's fancy.
Thank you. I hardly ever see you ever posting about like, oh, like my new video on YouTube, or like, go check out my song on Spotify. Is that an intentional thing, or is you more so like not really focused on that? You more so focused on like being on the street and inspiring people?
Well, I say that when people see me, they go and listen to Spotify, because sometimes it seems like when you say, hey, listen to my Spotify, it almost turns people off from listening to your Spotify, right? And so just by having the song, like for example, I had this video where at the Rock Church, again, where this guy who was directing traffic, he was trying to get through the people and they weren't listening to him. So he like went up to my mic, he grabbed my mic and he started yelling at him and like, yo, get on the sidewalk, whatever. And then he handed the mic back to me and then I said a couple lines of my song. And then that video ended up resulting in like thousands of people going and streaming my song because it was in the video. So that's been one way of marketing them, and I'm totally open to other ways of marketing things. I've also been posting music reels where I perform my song, and been working on getting better at editing and finding locations that are really appealing, scenic, and all that stuff. So that's what I'm currently working on, but I'm open to any ideas if you got some.
I might have a few, and I have some people that are really good with it. And I wasn't at all trying to like take a shot at the way you go about things, if that's how that felt. But no, I definitely got some people that are that do that. I could definitely tap into some people for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then music videos is also the next horizon, and the skill I've been really, and thank God for OpenAI and ChatGPT, because they have this within ChatGPT. There's something called DALL-E, and basically what that is whatever you're imagining in your mind, it can create. And so now it's allowing me to storyboard and to get the vision of exactly what I'm trying to look for. And I've been wanting to do that, but I didn't really the sketching process of trying to come up with images. So now I've been able to really work on that. And so this year, that's a goal of like putting out some really high quality, Hollywood quality music videos. And so that's what I'm currently working on.
That's dope. What kind of kid were you? Like if I said, what kind of kid were you? If I were to like ask your mom about like
exactly the same as I am.
I kind of felt that way. Yeah,
exactly. So for some reason, I've been able to maintain that. And because when we're kids, we're curious, we're courageous. Like a kid will dance in front of everybody and not care, and then through time or whatever, it changes for some people. And so I think a lot of what we're trying to do in life is get back to that essence of who we were when we were younger, because that's like our true self.
What do you think? Or like you said, I fully agree with that. That as kids we're very courageous and we're very free, and a lot of kids will try almost anything. And then as we get older, we kind of like, for lack of a better term, like pick a lane and kind of like stay there, and we kind of lose that jovialness and that fearlessness. Why do you think that happens? Well,
there's a multitude of reasons. One, it could be, let's say you are a free-spirited kid and you're at your Thanksgiving dinner, and then you act free-spirited at the table, and your mom's like, stop, shut up, right? Stuff like that, or your peers teasing you. Or something like that, or perhaps the conditioning from movies or music, and we consume movies by the thousands through our lifetime. So all that compounds. That could be a part of it, depending on what you're consuming. So there's a multitude of reasons. It could be health related. It could be maybe somebody had an accident. And now they're a different person. There's all kind of reasons.
Yeah, man. It's really like I would see it a lot. It's happened. I don't want to say like in like such a dramatic way. I'm still myself. But a lot of the some of that energy. I don't want to just call it energy, because like as we get older, we're busy, we're working jobs, and we're doing different things. So I don't just say I have less energy, but just that over the top like positive, jovial attitude, that was me as a kid. And I'm still that way. If it was at like 100 as a kid, it's probably at like 65, 70 now.
Wow.
Yeah, but like but to think about that, I don't know if that wow was a good wow or a bad wow, but for me that's bad. It's like I used to always be at a 10, or I used to always be at 100, and now I'm not. You know what I mean? It's like granted,
and how do you know?
I guess I'm just thinking back to how I was as a kid, like in high school and even early on in college. How
so let's think about it like this. Let's say if like there was a meal that you were cooking, and then there's certain ingredients that you use to create like a pie, and that pie tasted really good, and then years later, Thanksgiving comes around, and you're like, oh, that pie would taste really good right now. So let me try to think back of what were the ingredients that I used the last time, so that I can replicate that feeling. So what were like what was going on in your environment during that time? Like, what were some of the things that contributed to you being so positive and jovial? And then how could you reincorporate those things in your life now?
I love the way you did that. Love the way you broke that down. Great question. Probably I was like, had a lot more physical fitness in my life and back in those days. I know for sure that's one of the big things. I used to play a lot of basketball, and I used to go on a jog at least 3 times a week. So I was really active. I got my heart rate going a lot. I spent a lot more time outside than I do now. Those are probably the 2 biggest things, like physical fitness and just vitamin D. Those
okay, so let's do some jumping jacks then.
I'm down. Let's do it. Woo. I'm feeling better already, Joe.
Yeah. Damn.
I rock with you, bro. So what's some of the things that are on the horizon for Joe Dreamz right now?
Well, the music videos is like a big thing because that's also another thing. Now that I figured out my look, now it's the next step is, okay, now let's capture this and put it on film now, right? Because before I hadn't really figured out my look. I didn't really feel like making music videos. I was like, it's not there yet. It didn't feel like it was the right thing to do. But now I feel called. Like, okay, this is the new direction.
I like that for you,
I want you. And then also doing live shows, and then also something called Dreamers Only. And basically what that is we become like the 5 people that we spend the most time with.
100%.
And so the whole goal of Dreamers Only is for you to find your 5. The 5 people that are going to be around you, that are going to help elevate you and get your dream. So right now, I'm determining what type of events and activities are going to take place, where could these things take place, and really also it creates like a magnet for the type of people we want to attract, for the culture that we want to build to get to our vision of what we were talking about earlier. So that's like another thing that I'm thinking about right now and putting into action of Dreamers Only. And I have a theme song already. It's already out and all that. It's a Dreamers Only. And so that's another thing that's on the horizon.
That's dope. So you find yourself at a point now where you kind of like, if you're comfortable and you've like figured out how you want to sound musically, you figured out how you want to look, and so now it's like you're ready to go for it now. It's kind of what I'm hearing.
Well, I've been going for it.
Well, I know that, but I mean, not fully, right? Because you weren't doing music videos yet. Like, there's a few different things that you hadn't tapped into, right?
I see, and also for streaming and everything like that, like 1,000 streams is like $1.
Yeah.
And by doing a lot of these performances, you can make a few $100 in a night.
True.
And like it's legit paying the bills and stuff. So, and it's getting content and guess what? Like, it's a strategy that is consistently going viral, because when you're at these events and there's all these personalities and this mix of personalities and circumstances and alcohol and all that stuff, like eventually something is going to happen, right? And so just having the camera on and ready for whenever God decides to send somebody across my path, then so that's another reason why I've kept that strategy for a while, because it's caused consistent growth in my social media and streams and opportunities and meeting people, and then also getting the reps in and getting actually out there performing for hours and hours a day, because I started performing in my mid-20s, and I was thinking about someone like Michael Jackson, who started when he was like freaking 5 years old. So I was like, dude, I got so much catching up to do to get to mastery level of performing where I could do like concerts and stuff. I got to be performing for hours and hours a day, right? Not just like at the open mic every other week or whatnot for like 3 minutes, right? Like I'm performing this, like at the Padre game, I'll be performing the same song for like 3 hours, right? And I'm practicing my choreo, I'm practicing my moves, what I mean? I'm finding stuff that works every time, no matter what audience I'm in front of, and it also is great exercise. Being out there is good for your health. Being out there and making connections, and also it's just fun and it's adventure, and you're around sporting events and music festivals, and you're around things where people are in high spirits, so it's a good work environment. And then also you inspire other people to go chase their dreams and stuff. So those are some of the reasons why I've done that strategy.
I love it. So earlier when I asked you, what's the dream, you said everyone living their dreams. As far as like your music and your content career, what's the dream for that? What is that like ideally? What does that look like for you?
Well, like I said, like getting, because music videos is definitely something at this moment in time is definitely another area where I need to work on. When I was wearing pajamas and I stopped wearing pajamas, I need to work on this, right? And so when I see that, I'm like, once I work on this, I'll be getting different results. And so that's one area that I am really working on right now, and I'm really excited. I have some things that are in the pipeline that are already, and one of them is a 3D animation that's going to be, it's for my song 2084. It's going to be like a futuristic, you know, it is really going to be awesome. I really can't wait to share that one with the world.
That's dope. That's dope, man. That's dope. I see you doing a lot of acting, bro. I see you like on TV and on like in films and stuff. I do.
Oh, awesome. Well, hopefully these music videos will give an opportunity to show that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could definitely see you like, I don't know why in my mind I see you like on like Little Dicky. You don't get like, you know, I don't know why, but I see you like as kind of like that an equal to Lil Dicky. I don't know why.
Aha, interesting. Mm-hmm. I see. Maybe because he stands out so much. He's like so different.
Maybe
than
that is. He's
else.
Different. He's unapologetically himself. He always seems to be in a good mood. Maybe that's what it is. I hadn't made that connection until right now.
Interesting. That's a first. Most times I get like Kid Cudi or like Wiz or Will Smith or or I've gotten Kanye. That's the first time Lil Dicky. That's interesting.
Who are some of your favorite artists?
Some of my favorite artists, honestly, I get inspired from everybody. Like inspiration, I believe everybody has a unique gift. Like, I don't like to do those conversations. Like, I don't know if you ever scroll on Facebook, but on my Facebook feed, I always see these NBA posts of who's the GOAT.
All the time.
Like, you know, who would you rather pick? Or if one of these rappers had to go, who would it be? You know, like, I don't like thinking along those terms. Everyone has something unique and special. Like, we all have a unique fingerprint that no one else has, and the world needs everybody. And so I get inspired from the open mic that I'll go to, and the radio, and what I see on TikTok, and you know, it's all a part.
But it is okay to have a favorite, though, right?
Of course, it's okay to have
like,
a favorite.
You don't have any?
I wouldn't say right now. I don't. Okay. I would say it's all like a mother and her children. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, she sees them all, like she loves them all for different reasons, and for what makes them different. So it's kind of like that type of relationship.
I hear you. You know, it's funny. You don't have children, I'm guessing.
In the future.
Right. I was just talking to Tony. I just had him on the show. No. Anyway, I was talking to somebody recently that I had on the show that's a parent. And I was talking to them about how, like, it's human nature. You said like it's a mother like loving her children. And I was talking to this person also, like it's human nature for even a parent to gravitate towards a certain child and potentially have a favorite. It's just not okay to say it out loud in front of the other kids. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So anyway, when you said that, that's what it made me think of. So it's like, yeah, we can gravitate to everybody and appreciate everybody's music, but we can still have favorites, though, right? But I'm not forcing you to answer. I'm not forcing you to answer. I'm just saying.
I see. Do you believe that everyone has a favorite?
Yeah. I don't think everyone has, like, outwardly selected and chosen a favorite, but I think if everyone were to think about their favorite fruit or their favorite music or their favorite car to drive or favorite city to live in, I think if everyone gave it thought, that they would have a favorite and that they could rank all of those things 1 through 5.
That's interesting. When you said that, I'm like, I couldn't think of a favorite for any of those questions either. That's interesting. Maybe it's just the way I look at things.
Maybe. Like, you don't have a certain thing that you prefer to eat more than other things, or a certain place that you prefer to perform over other places?
No, it just really depends on the circumstances of the moment and what the vision is for the moment of time. Like, for example, for like 2084, one of the things that I'm doing in tandem with the release of the music video, because the music video is all cartoon, there's not really anything in person. Mm-hmm. So what I did was I went and hired somebody and he did a phenomenal job of giving me a paint job and making my car look like Tron, basically, like from the future, like with the black with the white stripes on.
Yeah.
And then I have this other artist I gave him one of my black suits, and he's going to Tron that out too. Mm-hmm. So then I'll be able to do some reels for 2084. Nice. So then that's like the priority right now, you know, of the things that I'm consuming, like, you know, watching a lot more videos on like AI and just consuming that type of content and everything like that, because that's currently what I'm focused on with this project. Like, I know this one artist, he's working on this movie that's about Bigfoot, and he hosted this fundraising party at his house, and then when we show up to his house, it's Bigfooted out. Like there's a Bigfoot, like there's the banjos over there, there's paintings on the wall, and like everything in this house is Bigfooted out because that's the movie he's working on. Then when he works on another movie, he's probably going to take everything down, put it in the storage, and repimp out his house and his environment to and his priorities and the things he's listening to match whatever else is the next movie. So it's kind of like that. So in that case, he may or may not have a favorite of all time, but he's just like, well, if I'm working on this, and then these kind of things are my favorite. Does that make sense?
No, that absolutely makes sense, and especially in maybe like a creative space. Like you asked me, like I have a bunch of shows that I do, right? He asked me like which one is my favorite, and my answer could easily be I like them all equally for different reasons, right? I could easily say that, and that would be understandable, and I especially would think that other creatives would understand and appreciate that answer. But I mean, that's why I said like favorite fruit or car to drive or anything like outside of that, because outside of your creative space, I'm sure we all have favorites that we like. Like I prefer, like I make a bacon, egg and cheese sandwich every morning for breakfast, and that's my favorite breakfast. You know what I mean?
Okay, so this would make the question easier to answer if you were to say something like, okay, not what is your favorite car, because it's like, well, what's the, like, you know, the activity, like it depends on like what I'm trying to do. If I'm trying to go long range, my favorite car is a van, right? So maybe specify the question like, well, what's your favorite electric car, or like a car for off-roading, or car for this? Then it would be like easier to narrow it down.
It seemed like, and I think this is an interesting little back and forth we're having. It seemed like you were saying like you don't have a favorite of anything, like you just experience life and however you're feeling in the moment.
Like I don't have a favorite suit. Like which one of my super suits is like my favorite? Like I love them all. Like honestly, like each artist puts
so Joe
heart
Dreamz,
into it.
You telling me there's nothing in life that you have a favorite of? Nothing. You have a favorite pair of shoes. You don't have a favorite blanket that you like to sleep on. A favorite pillow that you like when you go to sleep. You don't have a favorite anything in life?
I do have a favorite sauce, which is honey.
There you go.
But other than that.
There you go. I'm like, we gotta find something. You can't tell me I just love everything for different reasons. You gotta have a favorite something somewhere.
Favorite sauce.
I'm like, you gotta have a favorite pair of underwear, something, pajamas, something.
Like type of, like you could ask the same thing, like, oh, what is your type for girls? Like, I ain't got no type. You know? Right? It's the same. It would be the same answer, like of your favorite genre of music, or it just depends on what's going on, what I'm doing at the moment, what I'm focused on.
So you listen to every genre then?
Absolutely. Yeah, I listen to everything.
And you don't prefer a certain genre over another?
No, it just really depends on what's going on, honestly. They all have something of value. They all are artists who are putting their heart and their soul into their craft. Mm-hmm. And if I were to be in a room and be like, have like, raise your hand if you believe we're all equal, then everyone would probably raise their hand. So then, like, why would one genre be better than another?
I strive to be that eclectic, Joe. To just be able to listen to everything and appreciate it, because I'm down to try anything, most things, creatively anyway. I'm down to try most things. And so, like for music, for example, I like hip hop and R&B. Hip hop, R&B, and gospel are the three genres that I pretty much don't listen to anything else. Mm-hmm. But I like John Mayer. You know what I'm saying? When I hear his music, I put it on and I like it. Reggae music is cool. And I'm not the biggest reggae fan. When I put on Bob Marley, you know what I'm saying, some of the other songs, I like it.
I understand, because perhaps it's because when I'm more approaching music as a creator, mm-hmm. and so inspiration, and I'm looking at it differently, and versus as a consumer. Maybe that's I agree, and again, that's why I took it off creative things and said like fruit or different other things. But not, but again, we'll leave it alone and say like you don't have favorites. We'll leave it alone. That's gotta be a song.
I ain't got no favorites.
I ain't got no favorites.
There you go. Glad.
I love all my flavors. Hey,
like you don't have like a favorite flavor of Kool-Aid, a favorite flavor
of Kool-Aid. See, now when you get more specific, it becomes easier to answer. So, like a favorite flavor of Kool-Aid would probably be the grape one. Yeah.
You said grape and not purple. I respect it. it. Very, yeah. You're an interesting guy, Joe. I like that back and forth we just had. I like that. But some of the, Okay. Do you have a favorite color? I'll leave this. I promise I'm leaving this alone. Do you have a favorite color?
I don't. I really don't. I love them all. Like, that's just how I see things. Like, there's value and all of them, and just the thought of one needing to be better than another. I think that is an illusion that it's easy to buy into, and it's seductive.
I keep wanting to leave this alone, but you keep saying things that make me want to dig into it more. Choosing a favorite, does that mean that I'm giving this thing more value than the other things? For example,
I've always found it interesting how girls will have a best friend, and then they'll have like 5 best friends. And then to me, it's like, wait a second. Like, best means the number one, but it's like you have all these best friends, right? But she'll say like she loves them all, even though they says they're the best friend.
That one's a little tricky. I think best friend, I don't think best friend means like I think he's my best friend, you guys are my other friends, doesn't mean I think he's a better person than you. I think that means I'm closer to him than I am to you guys, and that's not a bad thing. It's just I'm closer to him than I am to you guys. I can confide in him, and maybe I can't confide, or I can confide in him more than I can you guys. He and I just, our personalities just mesh more. So that, the friendship one is a little
possible.
different. Yeah, for sure. The friendship one is a little different. Yeah. And again, that's why I put it on like basic things like fruit and things.
I see.
Yeah.
Got it. Absolutely.
Would you... maybe that's why you don't choose to like have favorites of things. Maybe you feel like choosing a favorite like gives this thing more value over other things. And I just don't see things that way. I understand why someone might, but I just don't see things that way.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, the world needs everybody.
He said, leave me alone, Mike. I got you. I'll leave it alone. What are you about to say? I didn't mean to cut you off. You about to say something?
No, it wasn't leave me alone. Is that the world needs both perspectives. There's different, just like 2024 is an election year, and people are caught in this, we're conservative, and our way of seeing the world is the right way, and you're the enemy, and you're stupid. And then the liberals are like, no, our way is the right way. We're trying to save America, and this is true democracy, and And the real thing is that both are necessary for different times.
100%.
Right? There's people who have different temperaments who just are born, or they're going to lean more conservative. And there's some people who are just born with more openness, and they're going to be more liberal. Like maybe they're an artist or something like that. Like that's just how it is. That's why do you think Hollywood is so liberal? Because it's full of artists. And so just by the nature of being an artist, we are more like liberal typically. So the world needs everybody, and the trap is to fight against each other versus being like, okay, when do we need your help, and then when do you need my help, and how can we have that symbiotic relationship? And we usually figure that out only when there's like an external threat. Usually, or what we need is a common vision. That's another way. It's either an existential threat or a common vision that'll do.
We need an alien invasion.
Yeah, and one of the things that I love about what I'm doing is that, or about the cause, should I say, is that no matter what part of the world you come from, no matter what your generation, you come from, your gender, your religion, or whatnot, like everyone has a dream, and I believe that could be a unifying message that we can come together on, and I really see that being something that could be more pervasive in the culture, and I want to use my music as a way to kind of introduce that concept, or not even introduce that concept, but to spread it more, because there's already people who are about that too, of course. So that's what I forgot exactly what your question was, but
no, it's all good. It's all good. You said a couple of things that I wanted to like the whole like, are you? Do I want to? Nope, I don't do that here. I was about to ask you like a politic thing, but we don't have to do that.
No, that's fine.
I mean, I don't mind it, and I'm sure I appreciate you not minding it. Anyway, let's do it. With what have been happening with politics in our country for over the last few years, how are you feeling with it? with you mentioned the election and everything, I'm not asking you who you're going to vote for, but just like voting in general, how they was like, oh, it's the lesser of two evils, and this guy's old, and this guy's a racist, and this guy's this and that. Like, how you feeling about, kind of the political climate these days?
Well, it is very entertaining. I think that's something that everyone could agree on.
100%.
It is very entertaining, and I think there's a real opportunity to spread love, because like what goes a long way with somebody is just being like, okay, like somebody said earlier today, there's this, like right before I went to that lecture I talked about, like with the Native American, there's this girl, and I said, well, if you were the mayor, she was complaining about something in San Diego, like, if you were the mayor of San Diego, then what would you do? She said, I would abolish the police. And then I said, okay, so from the sunglasses that you see the world through, like what makes that make sense to you? Right? And just even though that idea to me at first sounded ridiculous, like, why, you getting rid of police, like what will happen to society? But instead of jumping to that, let me jump to like, okay, like what is your thinking behind that? And then when we break it down, it's really not like, oh, it's really, I'm not trying to get rid of police. It's just that I want these people to be treated differently, right? And so really getting to understand, seeking to understand, I think that goes a long way. And I think that will be the key during this political season, is being able to be like, okay, look, I have my beliefs, I feel strongly about this, but for the sake of our union, I'm going to be like, okay, so help me understand where you're coming from. Even if we don't agree, just the fact that you're like, okay, all right, so basically, so if you just talk to somebody and be like, okay, so basically what you're saying is that when I do this and I do that, it makes you feel like that, and you would love it if we could do this instead. Exactly. And that is progress. And I believe that's something that we could use a lot more of.
I hear you. I'm not very encouraged by it. My mom watches my podcast, so maybe I shouldn't say it, because she's going to say this and be very disappointed in me. But this is the first time. I'm 35, and I've been voting since I was 18. I've never missed an opportunity to vote. I've always voted. This is the first time I'm considering not voting, bro. And I feel that feels like an irresponsible thing to say, and a way to feel as a black person. All that, all our ancestors and our people have gone to for us to have the right to vote, feels really irresponsible to say that. But it's like choosing between getting punched in the face or slapped in the face. It's how it feels like. It's like I'd rather.
What makes you see it that way?
Because neither. I was trying not to do this, but we're here now. Like, neither one of these dudes are like. I wouldn't want to be led by either one of these dudes that we're going to have to choose.
I see. So you would like it if there was a leader who shared your values.
Ideally, I think that's ideal for us all. But just at the baseline, someone that was fit to lead.
I see. And
like neither one of these dudes are fit to lead.
I see. And what do you define as fit to lead?
Great question. Competent for one.
And competent, like how do you like competent in what way?
When's the last time you heard anything from Joe Biden and you felt like he knew what he was talking about?
Well,
and to be clear, before we go deeper into this conversation, I'm not the big politics guy. I don't know, like my parents keep it on CNN whenever I'm over and I'm looking at their TV. I'm always like, you know what, I appreciate you guys having this on, because if you didn't have this on, I would never see this stuff.
It's like there's one expression, you may not take an interest in politics, but politics takes an interest in you.
100%. And so, and for that reason, when, not as much as often as I should or as I'd like to, but fairly often, I tap in and see what's going on and see who's talking about what.
What sources do you check out first when you're looking for information?
CNN. I go to CNN and then I go to Fox, because they're kind of like the opposite. So you need to see.
So you feel like you're getting a full picture if you look at both of them.
I try to, and I try to read things online as well. I try to listen to personalities that are connected but not so plugged in.
But there's not enough time to do that for every issue.
No, there's not.
So which issues do you tend to look into the most that grab your attention?
Oh, the issues about black and brown people, and the issues about the inner city. Those are two things that would directly affect me. And
of course. I see. And so you ideally would love a president who you feel like could champion the cause and the interests of the people in the inner cities and whatnot. And you feel like this year that there's not that type of representation, so then let me just withdraw from this process, do a takeaway until they can provide somebody that I would like to vote for. But consider the local things.
Oh no! I was talking about presidency. I vote locally. I'm going to always vote locally.
I see. So when I was considering up to the booth.
Absolutely. When I was saying considering not voting, I was talking about for the president.
Considering not voting, to me it sounded like
I'm glad you forced me to clarify that. When I said I'm considering not voting, I was talking about not voting for the president.
Okay.
I'm always going to vote locally. I have children that go to school here. I live here. I pay taxes here. I'm always going to vote locally. I was talking about the presidency. I just don't. Neither one of these dudes seem like they're fit to lead.
I see. I think we should reimagine what voting means to us.
Okay.
This is a thought that just crossed my mind.
Let's flesh it out.
So, we are given we're really not given just two choices, because there's a whole primary process where there's like 15 candidates, and then we kind of choose.
It's true, but it's kind of a farce though, because none of those dudes are ever really going to win. It's going to be a Democrat and a Republican. There's a liberal and there's this dude that nobody. It's going to be a Democrat and a Republican that we have to choose between.
Well, that makes sense, because that's a representation of the vast majority of the population that lives here. So, like, if I were at Petco Park right now and I grabbed on the mic and be like, okay, raise your hand if you identify as Democrat. I'm gonna get thousands of hands. Raise your hand if you identify as Republican. I'm gonna, and now raise your hand if you don't identify as either. It's only gonna be a little bit. So, it only makes sense that the political party that are popular are a representation of the people, because the people are putting them there.
Oh no, that's fair. Let's just put someone there that's fit to lead. Yes. Again, I would still go out and vote if we had, and I still may vote, Mom. I still may vote. It would be easier for me to just definitively say I'm going to vote like I always have if I felt like the two guys were fit to lead.
Yeah.
Even if Trump, all his rhetoric and everything that he's said, if he seemed like he was fit to lead and like have people follow him, like you can, this is a crazy thing to say, but you can be a racist and still be a good leader. You can be an old man who looks like he's going to fall over and still be a good leader. You just look like you kind of feeble these days. You know what I mean? Both of these dudes, when you hear them speak, they don't sound like they're fit to lead. When you look at them, they don't look like they're fit to lead, is what I'm saying. Before you get to their politics.
Yeah, that's definitely something that you hear whenever you see Joe Biden on your newsfeed. It's usually associated with his memory and everything like that. And part of that is, just like how like you might associate Trump with racism, like, and incompetence. And then I thought, I was like, well, he was competent enough to become the president of the most. He was competent enough to become the most powerful man on earth.
I never spoke to his competence. I never spoke to his competence.
I'm not saying he's a great president, but I think you got to give some credit to to even get to that position.
Oh, absolutely. He had, listen.
Like, you know how many people want to be president, man?
Listen, man, anybody, 100%. Anybody that sets a goal and gets to it, salute and respect. That don't mean I gotta like you or
yeah, because you're gonna vote according to your values and everything like that. But but getting back into reimagining what we mean by voting. So like, what is voting? Like, voting is putting your hope towards something that will further your values and your cause. So what are some things besides the president that you could vote for that would also get towards your interests? Because I think we just got to start looking outside of them for the solutions. Instead of depending on them and thinking that these are the people who are going to do it, we just got to be like, well, who else? What other things haven't we tried yet? The process of trial and error. It's like, okay, this isn't working, so like, what else could we do? Perhaps it's not the Republicans, the Democrats who are going to solve. Maybe it's just us, or maybe we got to come up with our own organization, or we got to find out.
I've asked that question, and I've landed at what else can I do? I cannot vote. That I'm gonna vote for my city council. I'm gonna vote for the school board. I'm gonna do all that. Anything local, I'm gonna vote, and I probably am still gonna vote for the president. Honestly, I'm probably still gonna do it. I'm just not very encouraged to do it. This is the most discouraged I've ever been.
A lot of people are like that. Yeah, a lot of people are in that boat. They don't feel like their interests are being represented
At all.
And it could be a good thing, because it could be the seed or the foundation of like a revolution, because that's usually what happens when there's enough people who don't feel like that representative, and then somebody charismatic or whatever comes and voices that in a powerful way and can rally them. Then that could be a revolution, and that could be and a revolution is part of the natural cycle that we go through over time, and perhaps we're due for one, just kind of like how the weather changes and stuff like that. So maybe that's the moment of history that we're at.
I hope so. That would be dope. It seemed like we were during the pandemic with all the protesting and everything. It seemed like we were kind of like in the midst of like a change that was happening. A lot of that energy is gone. I honestly think a lot of that energy came from people being inside. I think everybody was like outraged at what happened to George Floyd.
Yeah, it was a perfect storm.
Right. Everyone was outraged about George Floyd, and also sick of being inside. So it was like the protest gives me a good reason to be outside, and nobody can tell me to go inside.
Yeah, exactly.
I liked it though. I think if I could put percentages on it, we could all
look good at the same time.
Right. If I could put percentages on it, I would say 68% of the people out there were out there because they really cared. I think that other 45, 35, 45, that other percentage of people were out there because they were just like, listen, I'm trying to be outside.
I see. What do you think is the reason why people react differently to when an officer versus like someone like, one of us dies just from another way? I'm curious.
Say it again.
Like because it was a police officer that seemed to be responsible for George Floyd's death.
Right.
Okay. And so everyone's outraged. And then if me or you were to die from another cause not related to that, it almost seems like it would just like nobody would care. So what do you think is the reason? I'm just curious of like, what do you think is the reason why that is more important, it seems, than another circumstance?
Well, because the police are here to protect and serve, not kill. And so accidents happen, like with, and I'm not sure in what way you're speaking of, but accidents happen. People, this is going to sound really insensitive, but people die. And that's, I don't want to say people are supposed to die, but we're all going to. The police are not supposed to kill.
I see.
So I think
held to a different standard.
Right. I think that's the simple.
I see, and that's
it's the same reason why. It's the same reason why if like you're Joe Dreamz, the whole city knows who you are. If you have a girlfriend and you cheat on her, people are gonna be like, man, why'd he do that girl like that? But that'll be the end of it. Whereas my dad is a pastor. If he cheats on my mom, the judgment is much different because of where we hold you and what we expect of you. It's like you're a cop. You're a police. I don't know if people take that as a negative thing. You're a police officer. You're supposed to protect and serve. You're supposed to make people feel better when you show up. And you got here and you showed up and you killed somebody.
I see.
Okay.
Okay, so therein lies the solution then. That means that we also need to see ourselves in a similar light.
Sure.
And hold ourselves to a higher, and value our lives and our responsibility amongst each other of like, I think that's fair to say, but also think it could be a little off as well too, because like a police officer, they've been trained to de-escalate situations, to use discernment in certain places, to read different situations, and to. How can we incorporate that into our communities?
Man,
because that seems like that would be very valuable.
I honestly think we need more people that look like us being police officers. I I think that would be a big solution.
I see. And what could we do to encourage those efforts in those communities? Because there's been the opposite message has been like 99%.
Yeah, it's gonna. Right? That's why I said it's gonna take a lot.
It's gonna take some movies. It's gonna take some music. It's gonna take some.
It's gonna
take some funding from people who really believe in that, to fund some young artists to create some songs and to push some songs and to push some propaganda, basically, that would cause people to see officers in a new light. Like, I'm reading this book right now called The Science of Storytelling, and it's basically talking about how you can easily manipulate someone's emotions into accepting whatever idea. Like, they talk about this story of like this guy who's a pedophile, right? And they talk about how the author who made the story about them was able to get the reader into kind of cheering for them. So basically, he started off the story with the guy who's already dead. It started from the past. He's already dead, and he was imprisoned, right? And he had finished serving a sentence. So then from the beginning, you're already feeling like, oh well, he got what he paid for, or he got what was coming for him. And so that kind of makes you a little bit more open to like the story, right? And so you can see how that kind of stuff could manipulate people's emotions without even realizing it too, because you're just like, oh, I'm just watching this entertainment right now. And so it's very possible to change people's attitudes, because people's attitudes, it will take a long time, because a lot of this attitude began, but it like a lot of, like, you see a lot of it in the 90s, like with NWA and stuff, and the protests from Rodney King and everything like that. That seems to be when we go back in time. And so it was going to take that amount of time too into the future of the opposite message for it to get to a point where it actually makes a difference and stuff, you know?
True indeed. I also believe that a lot of that, I did not expect us to have this type of conversation. I'm fully here for it. I didn't a lot of the bad stuff about police officers is baked in. Like, it's a part of what makes the police department the police department. And we can get into the whole history of why the police department was created and all of that. And I think a lot of that feeling and ideology is still there. Whether you're a white officer, black, Hispanic, Asian, whatever, it doesn't matter. So I think a lot of that is baked in. But I do think a big solution would be a lot more minorities becoming police officers. That's just going to take, especially for black people, that's going to take a lot. Because a lot of us, we don't like the police, and we don't like when they're around, and so we're definitely not trying to become one of them. But I think that's the key. That's the
because
key. More of us becoming police officers. If the community
are policing the community, then they're more self-interested.
That's another big problem too. They don't let. From what I've been told in the research I've done, they don't let, like, I'm from Southeast. If I go to the force, they're not going to station me in Southeast. They're going to put me in National City or something.
It could be dangerous for you too, because you might run into someone who knows where you live and stuff. So I'm sure there is some reasoning behind that, and I understand this. There's pluses and minuses to both approaches.
Look at it like this: like when I was a kid, like I said, in Southeast, my neighbors and things, if they saw me outside doing something that I shouldn't do, they were out the window. Don't make me call your mom. Don't make me walk over there and tell your mama what you're doing. Now imagine if when I was doing my little knucklehead stuff, doing stuff that I shouldn't have been doing, and thankfully I never got arrested and did no hard time. But let's say there was a situation where I got caught doing something I shouldn't have been doing. And the officer that saw me knew me because he was from my community. And he's able to tell me, like, Flicks, you don't make me go tell your mom. You better go home. You know what I mean? Like, imagine if although those people out the window, imagine if that was a police officer that was able to do that, or multiple, or a whole squad of police officers that were able to do that. That would change so much.
I see. So how could we have those type of loving relationships with the police, whether they're from our community or not?
I think that's the police force's job to get into the community and build those relationships with the community, so the community sees that I'm here to help, I'm not here to harm. I think the police need to do that, and they have. You see different officers. They're at the fair. They're coming up. They're going to the school, playing basketball and football with the kids. Like, you see it. You definitely see it.
They're making an effort.
They need to. That more. I think more needs to be done.
Cops on TikTok and stuff. You know, who are making videos and likable characters and stuff.
But then there's also, just like with other things, like there's trauma too. So there's like,
I think what we need to do is I think sometimes what people are reacting to is that we're reacting to the man in the mirror, because we are them and they are us. We make those same mistakes in our own life, and a lot of times when we're pointing things out or getting mad at someone, it's because that's something that's unresolved within ourselves.
Yeah, but they can't make those same mistakes, bro.
We're both good and evil, and I think we need to have more grace. And I
agree with that. Some of the mistakes they make cost people lives, cost people a lot of money.
Absolutely.
And granted, we all make mistakes. I'm not saying that we don't.
Yeah.
But now, if in my everyday life,
is one mistake worth more than another mistake?
Say again.
Is one mistake worth more than another mistake?
If a life is attached to it, absolutely. Absolutely. In scheduling, I messed around and messed up with our scheduling and wasted your time one night, maybe even 2 nights. Right?
It's not wasted. It's only wasted if I decided if it was wasted. To me, it's like God had other plans.
Hey, and check this out.
And then I was able to do something, and I was like, man, I'm glad that God had things work out this way.
And now look, that's a mistake that I made, and you chose to look at it as not being a loss. If I'm a police officer and I take a family member from you, that's a loss. You can try to flip it into a positive, and it's commendable to all the people who do so. But a life was taken, a life was lost, and it can't come back. So yeah, those mistakes, they can be, If a life is attached to your mistake, that weighs more than if a life isn't attached. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because a life is the most valuable thing.
100%.
Of course. And so I forgot where we were going.
Where you were asking, we were kind of just talking about like what kind of like, we didn't use these words. I guess we're more so talking about like how to like build that bridge between like.
Oh yeah, because you were asking me about this. It's an election year and stuff like that.
Right.
Representing and everything like that. So to me, I don't look to any politician. I look to anyone to make my dreams come true.
Nor do I.
Right, and so I believe that we gotta be more like self-reliant and be like, hey, look, this is great entertainment and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And then I'm also going to just do the things that I need to do every day to make my dreams come true. And if they happen to pass a bill that gives me a stimulus check every once in a while, then great. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's awesome, right? And then if they make mistakes in the economy, then I'm going to adapt and I'm going to find a way to make it work.
I hear that.
So to me, it doesn't really matter who wins, because I'm going to win no matter who wins. Mm-hmm. I've made that decision.
I hear that. I like the way you said that. What are you were just at the Padres game today. What are some of the places you're going to be performing at this week?
The YMCA. They're having a career field. They're having like a career development day. I got to look at my email. Okay. And so it made sense to bring in Joe Dreamz because it matches that. Yeah. And so I think that's one of my favorite things about the brand, is because it opens up opportunities to be involved in things that a rapper wouldn't normally be involved in, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's what. So I'm going to be speaking. I got a panel, and then I'm also going to be performing a couple times. And so I'm really looking forward to that.
What day is that?
That is on Thursday.
And what time?
I gotta check.
Okay, but I'll be in San Diego. I'll be in La Jolla on Sunday. So if it's anywhere at La Jolla YMCA or close to it, I'll try to pull up. I'm filming something in La Jolla on Thursday.
Okay, I gotta see if it's something that's open, because it might just be the kids,
okay.
And they might not want adults there. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I'll see if it's something that. Maybe if you were like playing a role of like, oh, I'm here to film, then they'd be like, oh, that's the same thing as Joe Dreamz being there. Maybe that's something we could talk about after the podcast.
We'll figure that out. Sure, man. Joe Dreamz, I appreciate you coming hanging out with me on the podcast today, bro.
Of course.
I'm glad we finally made it happen, man. Absolutely, really dope conversation, man. I'm happy to have you back. That was dope, man. Like I said, we made a few twists and turns in the convo that I was not expecting, but I'm definitely happy that happened. I'm not complaining. I'm happy that happened. I liked it. It was a really dope conversation, man.
Absolutely.
You're a dope guy, man. You're an interesting individual.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. You can hold on to those if you want.
I have them?
Yeah.
Oh,
rock
sweet.
Out. Rock out. That's all you.
Awesome. I'm going to wear these every day or the rest of my life.
There you go. If somebody asks you where you got them, just make sure you shout out Michael Flicks. That's all.
Michael Flicks.
Yes, sir. It's been another episode of the Ain't Got It Yet podcast. I appreciate y'all tapping in, man. Yo, Joe Dreamz, tell them where your Instagram, where to find you, if you got a website.
Oh, yes. You will see me and Joe Dreamz tonight. That's where you can find me. So just close your eyelids and I'll be right there. And then after you wake up, then you can go on Instagram and search up Joe Dreamz and Spotify Joe Dreamz. And don't forget the Z.
There you go. Y'all tap in. Get familiar with Joe Dreamz if you haven't done so already. Ain't Got It Yet podcast, man. I appreciate y'all tapping in. Till next time. Take care.